Hey guys, I'm back with another episode of Mental Wealth. This podcast is used to express thoughts, experiences, and lessons. I aim to be as transparent as possible. If you enjoy an episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and tell a friend. Thank you. Hey guys, for the third person part of the interview, I plan to interview my girlfriend Shaina and have her talk about her past grief and what she did to overcome it and so forth. You guys stay tuned. So what brings you in today?
I'm here to talk about my grief and experiencing grief as an adult. So, when I was younger, about like 5 years old, we lost my grandma, my mother's mom, the matriarch of our family. And I don't remember myself experiencing grief, but like seeing everyone around me, how they were going through it. I mean, and I remember feeling sad because I understood my grandma wasn't here, but I didn't really understand like when people go through the 5 stages of grief. Like I didn't understand that was a real thing. And then I also lost my aunt, my dad's sister, and I was a little bit older. I might have been like closer to 9, maybe 10 years old. And again, I still understood this is a sad thing that happened, but I mean, I couldn't really grieve, I guess. But in 2020, I was 20 years old and we lost our my cousin Nicholas, my uncle's oldest son, and he was 18 years old, just shy of his 19th birthday actually. And he was the closest person apart from Jaimir in my life, like the closest male. Like we were basically siblings. We were only 1 year apart, and we had been close all of our lives. And even when I moved down here, he was still living in New Jersey. We always kept in touch, and we lost him very unexpectedly. It was tough the way that he died, and we just didn't. No one expected it, and I had literally spoken to him that Sunday or Monday, and then he died. That we found out that he was in the hospital, dead that Friday, and it was my first day of nursing clinical, and it was just an exciting morning for me, and I was so happy, and I didn't know, but I was on my way to school, and like my mom already knew that he died, and I was probably like in clinical for like 30 minutes, and then they pulled me out, and my stepdad at the time came and took me out of class, and I already knew before he even said it. I already knew. I just had a feeling that there was something wrong. So experiencing grief in that way, someone so close to me so abruptly, it was very hard. And I would say I was experiencing complicated grief. Like it was just my feelings were up and down. It's like when you lose somebody and like you're in the funeral and everybody's crying and grieving and you're seeing your loved one in this casket and they're no longer alive, and I was really in shock like when I went to his funeral. Like I was like going in like I'm gonna be okay, and I literally, when I walked in, I was screaming, like sobbing, screaming when I saw they had like this huge picture that I had taken with him, and you could see it like right when we walked into the funeral home. And before I even saw his body, I was screaming. Like I could not process what it was that we were about to experience. So it was very difficult. And we were like the closest people in each other's lives. So like as he like after his funeral, we come back home and we're trying to get back to normal, I guess, if that's even possible. And I'm just like sitting in my thoughts and I just feel guilty. And because you have that bargaining, God, what could I have done? Is there anything? Could I have saved him from this? Like, I knew he wasn't going down the best path. Is there anything that I could have done to intervene? And I was just doing, I would say, like, for the year after he died, like the first year after he died, I was just bargaining. And I felt so guilty because we were each other's person. Like, he was like my best friend. And I'm like, man, like, I feel like I felt, which is obviously not true, that if anybody could have pulled him out of it, it could have been me. So it was just really tough. And even now, it's like hard for me to talk about because it hard to get to a place where you can like talk about the person you lost. And it's like, oh, it still tugs at my heartstrings because it's still fresh. I mean, it's only been 4 years, but
You're doing great.
thank you. Experiencing that loss as an adult, I did not know how to. I didn't know if I was gonna get through it. I didn't know how to get through it, and it's like hard for me to talk about. I don't know why it's so hard for me to talk about because I've been fine recently, but like in a relationship, I was like grieving so much. I didn't know how to like. I was just trying to exist. Like I was just trying to like be okay, and like at home, like with my mom and my sister, we're all experiencing the same loss at the same time. So it's hard for like to be there for each other in the way that you need because we're all going through the same thing. We all need the same thing and we can't provide it for each other.
Damn. I know.
Because there's nothing that, I mean, there weren't no words to explain what we were feeling. There's just a void. Like, really, there was a void in our home. Because we were like, we left, everybody's in New Jersey. We come back to South Carolina and it's like, how do we process this? Like, I mean, we couldn't talk about him without crying. I can't even talk about him without crying.
You're doing great. Yeah, you need
It was just so hard. And like losing him, I felt so lost in my identity. I was like, who even am I? Like, life is so precious. I honestly, his death made me like have a complete 360 on like, it made me look at everything I was taking for granted. Like, me waking up in the morning, I was taking that for granted. Just thinking that, you know, God owed me that. Like, I got in my car and I got home back safely. I was taking that for granted. There were just so many things I was taking for granted. So his death shifted my perspective. And I was just so grateful to be alive. Because, yes, we lost him at a young age. He was 18, but he still had 18 years. And he wasn't even guaranteed to have that. We're not even guaranteed to be here tomorrow, you know? And slowly but surely, my perspective shifted. Like, instead of focusing on the loss, I was thankful for his life. That I have all these memories to think about, and that his memory still lives on. And even though it's painful and it's hard, I'm grateful for the time that we did have with him. Because God could have taken him sooner, younger, you know, and I really grown because and it sucks that it happens that way, that we have to lose somebody to realize all the things that we should be grateful and how we're blessed and all these things, but that's just the way it happens. We take life for granted and we get so caught up in, you know, what we have going on, and we're like selfish. We're like, you know, I was selfish in my own ways, and it really like pushed me into like being more spiritual because I was so lost. I needed something, and you know, my thing was turning to God. It might be something else for you, for you know, those of you listening, but I had to turn to that because I had lost hope. I didn't have any faith. I was like, I don't know, like, what is life right now, you know? Like, what am I doing? Does anything that I have going on matter? And it helped me focus on what really matters. So it was hard. It's still hard, but I'm just thankful that we had the time that we had together. And I don't focus on what I could have done, what I didn't do. You know, I truly believe things happen how they're supposed to. And that void is always going to be there. But, and we're still, as a family, it's hard when we're going on family vacations and we know that he should have been here with us. And especially like my uncle, like it's there, especially the loss of a child, there's no words that you can say. There aren't any words to say. I can't even imagine. Even 4 years later, it feels so fresh still, probably to him. And it just, it's really sad, but we have to keep living because, I mean, that's life. We lose people and we miss them and we think about them, but we gotta live. We gotta live for them, you know, because they can't. So yeah, my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You did great. You did great. You did great. So did this help you with finding meaning, like with how you had to approach his death?
I think, yeah, that was just. I think I was so focused on he's not here. Like what could I have done? And in reality, there's nothing you can do. But it's just part of how your mindset is, you know?
Mhm.
You need a reason as to why this happened. And there isn't. There isn't any reason as to why we lose the ones we love. It's just how it is. But his death gave me a new meaning in life, and I don't wake up in the morning without thanking God for giving me another day, because I could have died in my sleep, you know? Like, all of our days are numbered, and I don't take anything in life for granted anymore. Even like the simplest things. I got breath in my lungs right now. My blood is pumping and it's keeping me alive.
Jesus.
Like, God is good. So I definitely have a different outlook on life, and I don't sweat the little things. I'm not thinking about my future because it's not promised. I'm not worried about what my life is going to be like a year from now, 5 years from now. Like, it's really taught me to be present in the moment and love the people I love, prioritize spending time with them, and just live in the moment truly. Because I wasn't doing that at all before he died.
I think, well, with me just thinking about like I would say some like cultural differences. I know I've observed like this probably isn't even a cultural difference. This is probably just a guy my age difference. And we just don't talk about, I think it boils back to we just not talking about things that bother us and stuff like that. But for the most part, we don't talk about it. For the most part, I have the same friend that died compared to all the rest of my friends. It wasn't like he was just my friend; he wasn't everybody else's friend. But we really rarely talk about the death, or for the most part, we haven't really spoke too much about the death since it happened. And I think for it's easier for guys to do that. And I think when you're and it's really the what do they say, the elephant in the room when everybody's together and you're like somebody's missing, but ain't nobody trying to say who missing. So I think for the most part, it would definitely even just talking about the death, like, look, bro, like this, like it fucked me up for a long time. I didn't know how to deal with the situation or whatever. I think opening up the floor for the conversation that happened gives everybody comfort because like you said, everybody wants a reason why, and things happen because they happen. Doesn't need a reason why, they just happen.
It's just like, this is a hard thing and it's okay for us to talk about this hard thing, and it's therapeutic because then the conversation shifts from like, we lost this person, it was horrible, but here are all the memories we still have that are still living.
And then then you can talk about these good memories and stuff like that. Where and I think it definitely goes back to how we approach the conversation about death, and we usually talk about more so the loss, like you said, than celebrating the person's life, and all things they accomplished. And like, yeah, bro, you remember bro said he was gonna do this and he actually did it, or you remember bro bought that first car. And stuff like that. He couldn't stop watching it. I think it really boils back to how we approach death. That about wraps up the third person, and the last person is second person, which is you. As you watch this, I want you to think about how you've dealt with your grief and the things you've done to approach it, and how you can open up the conversation and the floor for your friends and others to talk about uncomfortable conversations. I should have named the podcast that, Uncomfortable Conversations, because you grow in uncomfort. That's the second person. Make sure you guys take something away from this. If you don't take anything away from the whole episode, what I want you to do is have a conversation. If you don't learn anything else from this, have uncomfortable conversations. If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back with you for another. Peace.